I'm back, having terminated my last Wahoo Kickr bike. The fresh one has arrived. If you're wondering why the delay, Wahoo took 3 goes to pick up the old one and then 2 goes to deliver the new one, which ranks as a bit useless. You could argue that it was the courier's fault and not Wahoo's, but as Wahoo are well aware and have not given me so much as a free coffee mug in compensation, no more free advertising from me. It is now just called the bike. So here's the plan. I've not ridden at all since the 9th of March, about 5 weeks ago. I can't wait to get back on the thing and get it broken in. Broken might be a poor choice of words. Get it used to life in my garage. So there is a race I've signed up for today at 5:45 p.m. But first I have to get to the gym for 9 a.m, get home, have breakfast, do a full day's work, then unbox the bike, build the bike, put the bike on the rocker plate, hook the bike up to ZWIFT, get changed, jump on the bike, warm up, and then race. I'm kidding, I never warm up. So today we're going to learn 2 things. Firstly, is the bike as simple to get out of the box and put together as I remember it from being from last year? And secondly, is it possible to take 5 weeks off, during which I consume about 215,000 calories in Easter eggs, and then just jump back on the bike and crush it in a race like I'd not even missed a day. Oh, and it's been snowing. Oh man, that is good to be back in there. Don't normally work out on a Monday, normally a rest day, but first time the gyms have been open in months, so could not resist it today. The only downside, absolutely packed in there. A sort of compounding effect, I think, of people not being able to work out on their New Year's resolutions in months, and an increased awareness of the importance of health and fitness as we go into a world living with coronavirus. So yeah, people just turned out in huge numbers. Not really, empty as always. No one cares about their health and fitness still. Remaining above average is still staggeringly simple. Okay, home. Breakfast. Tuna salad was delicious. If you're thinking who has tuna salad for breakfast, not me, that's lunch. Breakfast has been and gone. Today is going way too fast. But I wanted to just dive in here because while I was having lunch, this happened. 9,000 subscribers. If you are one, thank you very much. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. We are now racing towards 10,000, which would be very cool indeed. And the other thing that's happened is I've had yet another message on Instagram for someone that saw my recent post saying the bike has arrived, asking why, if it's so fragile, I had to go back first time round, have I got another one? Why not sell that and get something a bit more sturdy? And the answer is just that I love it. While the thing was missing for 5 weeks, I did research alternative options. There are clearly plenty out there, but I couldn't find anything that has the balance of feeling like a real life bike, but all the convenience and practicalities of an indoor trainer. There is just nothing that competes with it as far as I could see. And I have missed it. This thing not being here the last 5 weeks has been right up there with my races being cancelled, the gyms being shut, and the weather being rubbish as a reason why my training has not been where it should be. Okay, I have got to get back to work and push some pens. I am running out of time today. Okay, it's just gone 4:30, which gives me about an hour until the start of the race, so I need to crack on and answer everybody's question.
What's in the fucking box?
Let's find out. It's so shiny. Assembly instructions. Standard issue Wahoo saddle. Okay, it's going together incredibly simply. Next step is to chuck it onto the rocker plate, get it back where it belongs. Right, as an indication of how fast this thing is going together, I've actually got time to give the rocker plate a clean before it goes on it. Do you know what? It's almost done. It's on the plate. I've got to strap it down onto the rocker plate, which I do last of all, I think. I need to refresh my memory on how high the legs need to be set and whether the bottom needs to be on the deck or not down here. So I need to read the instructions for that. You have to dig them out the bin. But other than that, it's pretty much done. It needs to have the handlebars and the seat put in, but I'm not using the stuff that Wahoo supplied because I replaced these with my own, which I'm going to fit, and my own saddle as well. And also, I don't need any of the power leads that Wahoo supplied because I had an annoyance with the power block on the standard length leads leading it to be resting down here underneath where you sweat. So I extended my own power lead. Anyway, I said to Wahoo when I sent it back, all these bits that I've changed, the saddle, the bars, I'm going to keep all those and just send you back basically the bits of the bike that I don't want. And they said, cool. So they let me keep everything, which is actually very handy because, hang on, this is my saddle, which is going to go on here nice and straightforward. This is my power lead, which will plug into the block on the wall that I never actually sent back to Wahoo because I'd made an extension and a plug in and everything myself. So that's all mine, which is theirs. I've now got two. And these are my wider bars and TT bars. And I also kept the hoods because I'd ran the wires under, I mean, it was basically all installed, so I couldn't send them back their hoods. But looking at the new ones, no, they're identical. So I basically got a spare set of bars and hoods, which is handy. Paired, done. That was pretty simple. Okay, the bike is talking to my phone. The firmware is all up to date apparently. I need to hook it up with Bluetooth to my MacBook so I can ZWIFT on it very soon. And everything else is pretty much done. I've got a cable tie it to the plate. Oh, fit some pedals. I should fit some pedals, shouldn't I? That'd be embarrassing otherwise. I've got to put these regular bolts in here. I'm good to go. Oh, sweat guard. I mean, minor things. I'm going to be able to race in time for 5:45, which is not very far away at all. And in an amazing coincidence of timing, I've had a couple of emails come in the last few minutes, literally, from somebody at Wahoo who was incredibly kind and generous and talked about the videos that I'd done on the bike. And they are going to send me a Wahoo Headwind fan to test and compare against my Cheap and Cheerful fan. So that's amazing of Wahoo. So the advertising embargo can be lifted. Bye from Wahoo, they're an amazing company. We love them very much indeed. Okay, we are almost there. One last thing. Okay, it is race time. Actually, first, just a quick one. The standard quick release on the handlebar and seat has been replaced on both with a regular nut and bolt. A common question on the Wahoo forums is how do you stop these pretty useless quick release fasteners from letting the seat and handlebars slip down? The solution is pretty straightforward. Now, normally when I film something like this ride that we're going to go through in a moment, I like to try and provide one of two things for people watching. Either an ability to share in the joy and excitement that I feel from doing well, being successful, hopefully. Or if it doesn't quite go to plan, then I will try and learn from my mistakes and hopefully people watching can see those and perhaps not make the same mistakes themselves. Which is this? Well, I can tell you now, there's no joy and excitement at all. It is a 16-kilometre ride, which normally I'd regard as a pretty short distance. Not today. Basically, going into it actually, my thinking was this. If this is the race duration and this is the race confidence that I have, at the start I knew I would have the oh, I remember this buzz and I'd be okay. And at the end, I knew I'd still have at least some ability to sprint faster than most. But in the middle, I knew it was going to be grim, and my hope was that the start section and the finish section would be significant and the middle would be a very small period of time. That was my hope. So let's get into it. We set off, and at the start, as I thought, I'm feeling good. Actually, the bike felt super smooth. It was lovely to just be back on it again. My legs were feeling good at this point. At the first kilometre pretty much, I was feeling fine. I was keeping up with the riders at the front. It was all looking pretty good. The first sign of trouble really didn't occur until around 3 minutes in. There's this undulating section that we came across. I'm riding at about 103 kilos at the moment. Every time the bike hit the bottom of those dips, I would feel like I'd hit a brick wall on the uphill section. The last dip before that section ends had a 10% gradient. You're only doing that for a fraction of a second, but it just felt like being pulled backwards. It was very demoralising. If we jump to around 8 minutes in, and here it is starting to get tough. In fact, you can see my pulse is running at 176, which is getting close to maximum effort for me. And although I'm holding on to the back of this group here, the group is starting to get strung out. And my concern is that if any of those riders at the front go off, I'm just too far back to ever have any chance of going with them. And ultimately, as I expected would happen, we come to this point here, we're going through that bumpy section. That last one, it just hits me like a brick. And I exit that section knowing that the pack in front is gone. I just can't hold on to them any longer. And that is not necessarily too bad a thing. These races are often full of people that shouldn't be in them. This is a category C race, which means that the maximum average wattage you should be able to generate over 20 minutes is about 3.2 watts per kilogram, which is roughly where I sit when I'm in good shape. Now, plenty of people with much higher average wattage than that will race down, cheat basically, so they can do really well. People that should be racing in category B. So what I always do is ignore the results on ZWIFT and I go to ZWIFT Power, because that will delete anybody that effectively shouldn't have been in the race in the first place. So I don't need to worry too much about the people shooting off, because many of them will be effectively disqualified from the results that I'm looking at. In fact, from the final 10 that finished on ZWIFT, only 2 of them made it onto ZWIFT Power. So I now spend a few minutes basically riding around on my own. There's no point in going too fast at this point, because with no draft, I'm not going to in any way get closer to the group in front. They're just going to pull away and away. I am going to get caught by the group coming up behind. So I effectively just save some energy and plod along slowly, waiting for that to happen. And eventually they do. And initially it's just 2 of them. And at this point, 5 kilometers to go, I've kind of settled into the idea that it's going to be the 3 of us and I will kill them on the sprint. I'm actually feeling quite good at this point. I actually like it when a race does this. It sort of self-filters into groups of riders of similar ability, so you actually get a real race going between yourselves. There's just the 3 of us. I'm feeling pretty confident, and I'm feeling like I used to feel when I had that pretty guaranteed certain knowledge that I was going to outsprint them at the end. All I've got to do is hold on to them until we get there. And then I noticed that the chasing pack is getting closer, and a few kilometers to go, I'm starting to wonder if they are actually going to catch us up. And here at 2 kilometers to go, a small bunch does. One is a vegan dressed all in pink, so they become my target. Not because they're a vegan, they're just very easy to spot. They're dressed all in pink up in the distance. I keep thinking, even at this stage, I will get them on the sprint. I will keep them in sight and I will catch them on the line. It won't be a problem. I'm still feeling, although very tired, confident. But then here, a kilometre to go, and they have gone off ahead. Me and this guy try and chase them down, but we're getting close to 500 metres left and I'm dying. Heart rate's running at 183 beats per minute, 200 metres to go. They're 2 seconds up. I'm never going to catch them, not a hope. The guy that I'm riding with tries a little sprint, but I've still got enough left to hold him off. And that was it. Jumping over onto ZWIFT Power for the results while I collapse in the garage. Firstly, what was interesting actually, that average heart rate, 172 beats per minute. That's my highest ever average heart rate recorded on ZWIFT. I started using ZWIFT having already done many months on Trainer Road and Sufferfest. So I sort of came into ZWIFT fit. I have never had such a poor average heart rate or such a high average heart rate. If that high average heart rate was alongside an incredibly good performance, I wouldn't worry, but it wasn't. What else we got on here? The race stats themselves, I got 13th out of 26. I mean, technically, it's above average, just. Interesting actually to compare with the same race from January. Every stat in January crushed the figures here. What's the lesson? I think the lesson really is don't take 5 weeks off and eat Easter eggs non-stop. I don't know there's an awful lot more to it than that. It's pretty straightforward, I think. That doesn't work. On the plus side, the bike felt brilliant. It was great just to be back on it again. It was incredibly smooth and it ran silently. I mean, just a huge fan of the bike. Can't wait to get back on it again, despite still feeling quite tired right now. In fact, I have a pretty cool race coming up this week that I'm pretty excited about, so look out for that coming soon. Okay, that is it. Hope you enjoyed. Again, big thanks to Wahoo for swapping my bikes over and letting me keep various bits and pieces off of the old bike to make that process easier, and for hooking me up with some gear to test in the future. Although the amount of people that have said to me that I only bought the Wahoo bike because I saw your videos, they probably owe me anyway. Which reminds me, Garmin, you guys ever want to see your watch on my channel again, you know what to do. And we are way past coffee mugs now.